Hey everybody, this is Ben Colby, teen librarian with Enoch Pratt, here to show you today how to make a mold for a candle using Tinkercad. Here's an example of one that's already done. And I should warn you, this one actually was a failed model. More on that later. There's a way we have to do these details. But the basic idea is that we make two of these, and you only really need to create one of them if they're identical. So we make two, we clip them together, and we melt the wax into the middle. And it creates a pretty cool candle with a design. Let me go back here. This is another example of one that I made. It has a kind of basket weave pattern on it. It's a little big. We're going to make a slightly smaller one today. So I'm going to start from scratch and show you how to do this. So I'm going to go back to my Tinkercad dashboard, which I can always do by hitting the rainbow button up here. So this is tinkercad.com. You're going to need to create a account for yourself. I have a lot of stuff on my dashboard, obviously. Some of these are student designs. Some of these are my designs. Anyway, I've been at it for a while. I'm just going to start and create a new design. So what do? I'm going to move fast through this, by the way, so feel free to pause and go back and look at something. I'm here in my work plane, and I've got all the shapes on the side. All I do is left click, and drag, and I grabbed a box shape. So I can move the camera around by right-clicking and dragging on the work plane. I can also left click and drag the cube up in the corner here. And I have some camera controls here that we'll talk more about as we go on. So I'm going to show you one trick real quick, and that's to hit the F key, and that zooms in on whatever you have selected. I'm also using the mouse roller to zoom in and out. That seems to be the easiest way for me. When I mouse over this thing, it's giving me the dimensions. This is 20 by 20. And the thing, okay, so for the mold, we only need it to be a few millimeters thick. I'm going to say 5. So the way I changed this was I clicked on the white box at the top, and I dragged it down until this said 5. This is millimeters, by the way. You can change the grid down here, edit grid, if you prefer to be thinking in inches, but 5 millimeters is about the correct height for this box. Now if I mouse over the edge, I can stretch it. I can click and stretch. And I want to create a candle that is about 3 inches high, or 75 millimeters. And I've gotten off the frame, so I'm going to hit that F key again to refit. So 73 is fine. That's going to be the height, and then I'm going to stretch it this way, which I could do from the corner or from the side. Click and drag out to, it's going to have to be 75, well, no, let's see. How many inches across do we want the candle to be? I'm thinking about 2 inches across, maybe between 2 and 3. So that would be between 50 and 75 millimeters, plus we need a little bit of extra space on the outside. So let's just call it 100. That's pretty good. So my dimensions of this box that I just stretched it to were 73 or 75, whatever, and then 100 this way, and the height is 5. So next, I'm going to take another shape and add it. Round roof. Just scroll down a little bit. And I think we made this with the shorter end this way. So I'm going to actually have to rotate this. No problem. I have these 3 rotate arrows, and when I mouse over them, I get a little dial. I'm grabbing this one, and I want to rotate it to exactly 90 degrees. It must be exactly 90. I can snap around the inside of this dial. If I drag around the outside, I can make fine adjustments, but I don't want to do that in this case. 90 degrees exactly. Also, if you're having trouble, you can just type in 90 from your keyboard. Cool. So we said I'm going to hold We said 3 inches tall, 73. It's going to match about the length of this. So I can just drag that, but it's getting warped. The important thing here is that it needs to remain an exact circle. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key now while I'm dragging, and that preserves the shape of the thing. So I'm going to drag this until the height is about the same. I guess I got it to exactly 73. I'm going to drag that over until it's roughly in place. It looks like I did get it perfect, but let's say I didn't get it perfect. That was close. And I'm using the right click and drag to look all around. I can see that it's off center. So what do? I click on it, and I can use my arrow keys on the keyboard to make small adjustments. Usually it's easier to just drag it to approximately the right spot and then use the keyboard to finish the job. That's pretty good. I think that's about centered. Good. So now I can drag a box over both of these things and group them, and now it's one thing. I'm going to get another round roof shape. Or you know what, actually? No, I'm going to ungroup that. I'm going to undo the step that I just did. I could have also undid it with the undo button or Control Z. The reason is because I want to make an exact copy of this shape. Now, let's see. Let's make a duplicate. Control D, or you hit this button up here, and that creates a copy on exactly the same spot. I want to cut a hole out, so I can change any shape from a solid into a hole. And now that I have the hole shape selected, I can grab this black cone on the top and move that up and down. So let me ask you to think about this. Why wouldn't I want to cut the hole out like this? Well, the answer is because I wouldn't end up with a circle in the middle. It would be some kind of football shape. So I'm going to undo that move and hit D to get it back on the surface. By the way, if you're ever, let's see, which one did I get? It's kind of hard when we overlap these. Yeah, so I did grab the right one. So I can stretch the hole out, but again, I'm going to hold that Shift key and make it just a little smaller. It's okay if it ends up getting hidden inside the other thing. We said this one was 73, so let's say this is 65. Pretty good. And then we want to re-center it. I'm going to move the camera around so I can see where it is because it's still flush on this side. And let's just get that perfectly centered. Look at it closely and use those arrow keys. In this case, I'm seeing that I can't center it perfectly. Here's an advanced trick. Snap grid from 1 millimeter down to 0.5 millimeters. And now, yes, I can do a little half move. It looks like it's perfectly centered. I'm going to drag a box over everything and group it. And I should still have, yep, I've got a little bit on the bottom. And I've got a nice thick outside here that I can start to cut into with another pattern. By the way, you could just stop at this point. This will be a functional mold. And so that's why I am going to stop the beginner portion of the activity here. Oh, one more thing. Let's stand this up for 3D printing. So I've got my shape, I've got my 3 dials. I'm going to go over to this one, rotate by 90 degrees. I am off the ground, or I'm under the ground, as you can see. So I'm going to hit the D key to jump up to the ground. And now I have something that is ready for 3D printing if I'm done. And the way I would send it in is by, or the way I would get the file is by going up here to Export, include the selected shape as a STL. If it's all grouped together, this will work. If you haven't grouped it all together, then you would want to say everything in the design. But anyway, you just click the STL button, and now we have a file. That's the file you send me. End of part 1. Congratulations.